Howdy folks, and welcome to a preview of Jurassic World Evolution 2. As you may be aware, I was quite a fan of the original game, did a whole video series on it. And Frontier Developments asked me along to have a look at an early build of the sequel. Naturally, I jumped at the chance, because dinosaurs are awesome. Now, this is an early build, and so far, to the best of my knowledge, the game doesn't actually yet have a release date. If you go to the store page on Steam, it's simply listed as coming soon. The second game is set after the events of the movie Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, where the dinosaurs are no longer confined to islands like Isla Nublar, and instead are free in the world at large. And in this initial tutorial mission, we're here in Washington State, where we've been tasked to recapture some dinosaurs that have broken out of a holding facility and then repair the holding facility.
Dr. Dewar, the dinosaurs are still agitated. Tranquilizing them would appear to be the best option at this point. Let's do it as safely and quickly as
So this is one of those examples like in the previous game where you get to take direct control of the vehicles and the crew in order to, well, for example here, tranquilize these two carnivores. One down, one to go. Now, you can do this by taking direct control, or you can do it in third-person view as well, like this. Now remember, the gunner, the guy with the tranquilizing rifle, is on the right side of the helicopter, so I need to make sure that the right side of the helicopter is facing the dinosaur, then lock on and just fire away. It usually takes 2 tranquilizer darts to subdue something as big as one of these Carnotosauruses. Carnotosauruses? I don't know what you call them.
Just as an organization has key players, me, it also has key facilities that it needs to run effectively. So you should get started with the construction of an arrival building, a control center, and also a backup generator to supply power.
Okay, so we're building an arrival point, a control centre and a backup generator. This sounds a lot to me like we're building a dinosaur theme park in Washington State. And initially, like many of you I suspect, I was thinking to myself, why? Dinosaurs are roaming the world. Why do we need to put them in zoos? But then I thought about it a bit more and, well, it does actually make sense if you think about it. I mean, lions and tigers roam the world at large, but you wouldn't really want to meet one out in the wild, where you'd be very likely to become their lunch. It's a lot safer and a lot more profitable for the people who own the facility to have them inside theme parks, nature reserves, and all zoos. So, okay, fine. We'll go with it. I should probably get a move on, though, because these 2 carnivores are not going to stay tranquilized forever. So, there's my arrival point. Now for my operations centre. So far, it's a lot like the original game, and honestly, I'm fairly easily pleased. It's dinosaurs. If all they'd done was deliver more of what was in the original game, I would have probably been pretty happy. But there is more than was in the original game. Because in Jurassic World Evolution 2, although this was outside the scope of the playtest that I conducted, which only lasted 2 hours, maybe slightly longer, but in the sequel, you're going to get access for the first time to marine and aerial dinosaurs. And that's not all, but more on that when we get to it.
Not bad if I do say so myself, and I guess I am, but we're also going to need a response facility. Your response to this directive should be to get one built. Huh? You see what I did there, huh? Response. Never mind. Don't respond.
So, your response facility is where your ranger and capture teams operate from. It's kind of a combination of the 2 buildings that served that purpose in the original game. And like the other buildings, it merely has to be connected to a pathway and be within range of a power supply. And then as soon as that's done, we'll get a brief message telling us what to do next from somebody who is definitely not Chris Pratt, because they almost certainly couldn't afford him.
Claire, we need to get the dinosaurs into new holding enclosures.
the ones we've already captured.
Yep, that's right.
And we'll want them awake and as comfortable as possible.
That, surprisingly, is actually Bryce Dallas Howard, the actress who played Claire Deering in both of the Jurassic World movies. And they have, of course, also managed to wheel out Jeff Goldblum, because he's great and he'll do anything. Anyway, I've almost ensured that the two Carnotaurusauruses are safely enclosed. Just going to put a ranger post down and a feeder for them, because apparently these original facilities were built by dinosaur poachers and they didn't really care too much about dinosaur comfort and safety. So, checking on dinosaur comfort and safety is going to require a status check from a response team. Until we do this, we're not going to know how well these dinosaurs are responding to the enclosure that we've placed them in. So I'm going to need to put down a ranger post, then build a staff centre so I can actually hire some rangers, then wonder why the rangers aren't actually checking up on the two dinosaurs as they help themselves to the dinosaur feeder and have a bit of a scrap over who gets to eat first. Then realise that the ranger post is supposed to be inside the dinosaur enclosure. Then realise that I need a science centre in order to research a staff centre. Then the dinosaurs start getting a bit upset because clearly there's something wrong in the enclosure that I haven't actually been able to check up on because I don't have a ranger team yet. But with the response centre now fully crewed and operational, I'm able to send the response choppers out to re-tranquilise the ornery buggers and a ranger team to repair the damage that they did to the fence during their breakout. And then, hopefully, there we go, now that I've figured out the ranger post actually has to be inside the enclosure, we can find out what it is that upset our two happy little murderers to such an extent that they decided to break out and go on a rampage. And it's here where I'm thinking that Jurassic World Evolution 2 has taken a lot of cues from Planet Zoo, where the detail that you can go into regarding the health, welfare and enrichment of your captives is absolutely off the charts. Now, Jurassic World Evolution 2 doesn't go into the same insane level of detail that Planet Zoo does, but it's definitely more complex than the original Jurassic World Evolution was. And with our two happy little murderers safely back inside their enclosure, for now, we can see that they're missing open space. The comfort levels are about right, the health levels are about right, but they need different environment. They don't have enough water, sand, prey, or open space. So basically I have to completely remodel their enclosure. And we're going to start by making it bigger. And then mess around with the environmental tools to give them the right mixture of open ground, grass, sand and scrub that they require to stop breaking out and being a massive pain in the arse. And with that all done, and our two unhappy little murderers now happy murderers once again, we get given the task of searching for signs of a dangerous escaped dinosaur that broke out of this erstwhile poacher's enclosure in order to, I presume, capture it and then bring it back. They want me to do this in a jeep. You know, we've got helicopters, right? This is a dangerous escaped dinosaur. You know, as if the two Carnotaurusauruses weren't dangerous enough. I mean, presumably this means it's something even more dangerous than them. And I'm in a jeep when we have a helicopter. Was there a meeting that I missed? Do I still get to vote?
This looks promising. You know, not that I'm promising anything.
Ah, hello again, the guy who was brought in to not be Chris Pratt because they couldn't actually afford the real Chris Pratt. How come I'm doing this and not you? Aren't you the dinosaur behaviour expert? Well anyway, long story short, we follow the clues, and I can't help but note that we do actually have a helicopter overhead, which is not doing anything to make me not feel like the bait here, and oh shit.
Owen,
Can I be in the helicopter now, please?
What is happening?
Little busy right now.
Please tell me you have things under control. If it'll calm my anxiety, yes. I'm a bundle of raw nerves.
We're working the problem.
And now I'm safely in the helicopter, as the beast chases the jeep, because it is crunchy and goes well with ketchup. Basically, to one of these things, it's an allosaurus. A jeep is just canned food.
team, right?
Let's get this sucker tranquilized.
Bring it round.
Owen, what's our status?
We're close. We have everything almost under control, but the animal is injured. We need to get her to a secure enclosure for observation and treatment.
I'll notify Dr. Dick.
Oh, me? I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
Owen, or rather not Owen. You were never in any danger. I was the one in the bloody jeep. Right, anyway, so we need to call in a transport to airlift this allosaur to the facility that we haven't actually built to contain it yet. We can't just plop it down in the same enclosure as the two carnotosauruses, because our two happy little murderers will become very unhappy little murderers with another carnivore inside the same enclosure, and it will probably eat them, and that would be bad. Although in truth, I think the allosaur would probably end up on the lunch list of the two happy little murderers, because this is an injured allosaur. It has a major fracture of one of its limbs, and in order to treat that, we're going to have to do dinosaur surgery, and for that we're going to need the Paleo medical facility. Fortunately, here's what I prepared earlier. And this is something that's new in Jurassic World Evolution 2. This facility didn't exist in the original game. Previously, if there was a problem with your dinosaurs, you'd just send the ranger team into their enclosure and pump it full of magic drugs, and that would fix all of the problems, provided you'd researched whatever cure was required to help whatever ailment the dinosaur was suffering from. But there were no major injuries like fractured arms and legs and things like that. But that's not all that's new in the second game, and I'm pretty sure that I'm still really only scratching the surface here, because I only had a limited time slot available to get some playtesting in. But aside from the airborne and seaborne dinosaurs that are also going to be available in Jurassic World Evolution 2, there are further new game mechanics, at least one of which I did get to experience for myself during my play session, and it's to do with selective breeding. Now, you've always obviously been able to tinker with the genetics of your creations in Jurassic World Evolution. That's kind of the whole point of Jurassic Park. It's how you got the dinosaurs in the first place. So you can still mess around with their genetics in order to have them manifest various different positive traits, but what you can do in Jurassic World Evolution 2, here for example in our hatchery we have 4 viable dinosaur eggs. Now there are no particular traits that have manifested in the first egg, but the second egg is going to produce a dinosaur that is 30% less likely to get upset if it has to cohabit with another type of dinosaur. It's going to be 30% more dominant and 10% increased chance of socializing with others. And the third and fourth egg are going to produce dinosaurs that will never terrorize guests and never attack ranger teams. So it makes sense to only breed from those specific eggs. Jurassic World Evolution 2 has introduced selective breeding, because when those dinosaurs mature and start reproducing naturally, which is way cheaper and more cost effective than genetically tinkering with eggs, their offspring are also going to inherit the same traits.
Look closely at the horns and their relation to the eyes. It's clear to me that as we bring these animals back to life, the connections between the past and the present sharpen, and along with it, our understanding. This is what my science is all about.
Because while it is admittedly fun to watch your velociraptors jump the fence and eviscerate all of your stupid panicked tourists, it's not very profitable. You do tend to get sued a little bit more often than you'd prefer, and guests tend to not show up if they think there's an even chance that they're going to end up on some dinosaur's lunch menu. Of course, now we have to make sure that our brand new Nasutoceratops are going to be happy in this enclosure, which in this case simply seems to mean that they just want some more forest to run around in, as well as a bit of ground cover. So we'll use the environment tools to do that, until they stop bitching and moaning as well. And that was about as far as I got in my limited playthrough of this development build of Jurassic World Evolution 2, but I do like what I saw. I was a big fan of the original game. The second game does make things a little bit more complex, but not to the insane degree of something like Planet Zoo. While it has clearly taken some of its cues from Planet Zoo, it hasn't gone to the same degree of detail as Planet Zoo does, and I think it's in a pretty sweet spot. I like the new facilities. I like the introduction of selective breeding in particular, and while I didn't get to see any of the flying or marine dinosaurs that are promised to be in the final game, I am looking forward to seeing them when the game does eventually get released. When that's going to be, I don't know. It does not yet have a release date. If you look at it on Steam, it just says coming soon. But this is definitely a game I'm going to be playing, and very probably a game I'm going to be releasing videos on, much as I did with the original. So if you have a dinosaur breeding itch that you need scratching, Jurassic World Evolution 2 available at some point in the near future on a Steam wishlist near you. I hope you enjoyed today's video, folks. As always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.